Hi, this is Adam Eliyahu of Israel 365 News. I'm here with Ruth Tidhar, the head of the Assistance Department of the EFRAT organization. And what we'll be talking about is the efforts in Israel to counter abortion. And Israel has a very different approach from America. And I'd like to speak to Ruth about it. So, Ruth, we began talking, and you do not define yourself as pro-life, as they phrase it in America. How would you define the work that EFRAT does?
EFRAT helps pregnant women in distress who are deliberating whether or not to have an abortion or to continue the pregnancy. And the way that we do it is by giving them information and support, emotional support, social support, concrete financial support in all different ways. I'll talk about that a little bit more. But the idea is that the decision is always the woman's to make. She's going to raise the baby or not. She's going to live with the repercussions of abortion or with raising a child. And the decision has to be hers. And in this way, we've helped over 80,000 women come to the conclusion that they want to have their baby, because we've found with all these tens of thousands of women that we've helped over the years since 1977, is that most women, even who turn to us, they want to have their baby. And they're being pressured either by their spouse or their boyfriend or their parents or whoever to have an abortion against their inner wishes. And the emotional repercussions of having an abortion against the woman's inner wishes are pretty horrific. I speak with women every day. And in the intake that I do whenever a woman turns to us, I always ask if they had had an abortion in the past. And if she says yes, then I will ask her, and how was the experience for you? And I hear really, really difficult things, just very, very hard. And emotionally, I'm talking about, not physically. Physically, it's a pretty simple procedure. The problem is that it leaves a scar on her heart, on her soul, and her body remembers the abortion. Her soul remembers the abortion. Her psyche remembers the abortion. It's not something that goes away. And when I ask people how it was for them to have an abortion, well, often I'll hear, well, I'm turning to you now because I got pregnant again by accident. And the last thing I want to do is go through that again. I'm looking for any way I can to avoid another abortion. One woman told me, I had the abortion 4 months ago, and for 4 months I haven't slept.
It's interesting. You said you provide information, which we might think that in the days of the internet, in the era of the internet, that information is readily available, though that is actually not the case, especially with these heavily politically laden and loaded issues like abortion. There's a lot of censorship of information. I think in America, you're not permitted to show ultrasounds, and they won't even allow people to pray in front of the clinics, let alone disseminate information in front of the clinics. And they'll also, I hate the way it's phrased, they refer to it as women's health care. And that's hugely misleading. And you're not the first person I've heard that this leaves a scar on the inside. So you would think with such a weighty decision, people would be allowed to consult.
Once true, now in the days of the internet, when I was pregnant with my first daughter, who is in her 40s, I had to go to my father's medical books. I had a father who was a doctor, so I went to his medical books to look at what the what the embryo looks like at 6 weeks, at 8 weeks, at 10 weeks. Now that's at the tip of everybody's fingertips with this amazing computers that we have in our hands. So that information is available. The information that's not available is how are you going to feel after having an abortion? And that's anecdotal. I mean, we don't have the resources to make big research projects, but anecdotally, I can tell you that at least among the women who turn to Agudat EFRAT, to the EFRAT organization, many women are really sorry about an abortion they have. And it's a trauma and psychological trauma that they take with them.
So
continuously.
So you put zero effort into legislating and changing the law, and abortion is legal in Israel. There are about 20,000 abortions a year in Israel.
Well, the number is actually going down. There's about 17,000 legal abortions done in Israel every year now, which has gone down over the past decade amazingly. Nobody knows how many illegal abortions are done, which means abortions done in the doctor's office. Nobody knows. The assumption is that it's about the same amount. It's about the same number, but the number is going down. No, we do not do lobbying. We do not do legislation. We do not want to change the laws. We feel that the laws can be liberal. It's not the matter of the law. Laws don't save babies. Let's put it that way. Education, information, support, understanding, that's what saves babies.
Okay. So what practically do you do? And I'm also curious, this is going to sound really a little bit low, but how much does it cost to save a baby? You have a woman, she comes to you, she says, okay, I've decided to save my baby. And what do you provide and how much does it cost?
Oh, okay, great. That's an easy one. Okay, first off, women come to us mostly, a lot of them by word of mouth. We advertise as much as we can budget. And the women who come, women come to us at the beginning of the pregnancy. I found myself pregnant. I don't know what to do. I'm being pressured to abort. I don't really want to, for whatever reason. The first thing we do is take her story. We first off, listen to her. We call it radical listening. Just really listen. And
I love
give her room to express all the different voices that are going on in her head, because it's such a stormy period. We come into these women's lives when they are at just the stormiest intersection of their lives, because there's no three decisions. There's just two. Either you continue the pregnancy or you end the pregnancy. There's not another choice. So it's very, very, very emotional and difficult. And the first thing that we do is give her room and listen to her. We link the woman with a volunteer. We have many tens of volunteers. We have almost 100 that really get cases every few weeks or every month, and other ones that get in special situations. And the volunteer befriends the woman, listens to her, helps her along, helps her sort out the different decisions, the different voices in her head in order to make the best decision for her. That's the idea. So we want her to make the best decision for her. And since she turned to us and she knows what we do, then we understand that at some level she wants to have that baby, and we're here to help her with that. And we're here to give a clear voice that says, stop, wait. Don't run amok to have an abortion because you're under pressure. Think about it. It's a huge decision. It's a decision that you will live with forever, whether you have the baby or don't. You're going to live with it, with the decision. Take your time and consider. And consider also the help that we have to give. So the help that we give is very meaningful to the women, really meaningful. We give, after the baby is born, we give a crib and a stroller and a baby bath and a baby kit with bottles and diapers and clothing and a blanket and a sheet and a little bit of everything that she needs. And then we give monthly packages of diapers, wipes, formula, food for the family if needed, for 2 years after the baby's born. That's very meaningful.
2 years.
2 years. And everything is brand new in the box, brought with the messenger service to the woman's door. It's really an important service. And because we buy everything in bulk, and we send out from a central warehouse, then our overhead is very, very low. All the work in the field is done by volunteers, and much of the work in the warehouse where we pack packages is also done by volunteers, most of it. So our overhead is very low, and it costs right now $1,200 to save a baby. $1,200. It's amazing. It's amazing. So the generous donor who gives $1,200 receives a certificate with the first name and the date of birth of the baby that his donation went to save.
$1,200. Wow. Okay.
Right. I know.
I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry anymore.
I really invite whoever's watching here to come to see our visitor center. It's really amazing. Bring a group. When you're in Jerusalem, bring a group, call us up, make an appointment, bring a group, make packages for the women, make packages for them, and see our work and see this amazing mif'al, amazing operation that we have going since 1977 that has saved over 80,000 women.
I think about about lobbying and how much that costs and all that, and the ads and the advertisements, and I'm like, it's millions and millions of dollars, and that would be how many babies?
Wow. And once some people from some pro-life organization from the States were visiting to learn about what we do, how we do it. And Dr. Schussheim, after he's going on and on about legislation and lobbying and advertising and protests and demonstrations and and Dr. Schussheim said, and how many babies have you saved?
And
it's a matter of priority. Let's put priority here.
I remember before my first baby was born, when my wife went into the hospital in labor, and I, after everything was okay and the baby was out, I ran to the baby store, and I'm like, I need equipment. I'm faced with a baby. I need equipment. And by the time the third kid came along, it's like, I'll go borrow the neighbor's stroller. I'll go, babies don't need much. They need so much love and attention.
That's what they
But
need.
the main reason would you say that the main reason for abortion is the financial aspect?
Absolutely. Look, even some, about half of the women who turn to us are single, and about half are married. But even the single women, they don't say, I don't have enough room in my heart. That's not what they say. They say, I don't have enough money. That's the worry. That's the worry. Oh, and I want to tell you about a project. It's not a project. It's a new department in the EFRAT organization that has been going on for a year and a half already. We're in the middle of our second year, which is called Mothers in Growth, Mothers Growing, or it's hard to translate. Imahot b'tzmicha in Hebrew. And blossoming. And we have a wonderful occupational social worker who gives our women, those who need it and want it, occupational counseling, like where does she want to put her energies? Does she want to learn something in order to go out to work? The department helps the women go back into the work world by giving them direction and consultation and counseling, and we subsidize the daycare. We
Wow.
give subsidy on top of the government subsidies that women get in Israel. So it's quite a project. It's quite a thing. It costs a lot of money, really a lot of money, and that's beyond the $1,200. It's another at least that much for every woman who wants to go back to work. It's a big investment. But the idea is to help her stand on her own 2 feet and bring home bread for her family and on her own. What does that do to her self-esteem, and what does that do to her ability to be a good mother to her children and help the next generation come to a different place, to a better place. It's really a big deal, and I'm very, very proud of that new department.
I can't speak for
Working moms.
I can't speak for mothers, but I can certainly speak for men. I remember, I don't know if this is still the case, but when I was a young man, there were studies that showed that the vast majority of CEOs and high-level executives in corporations were all married and parents and fathers. And I can understand that because, before you have a kid, you can play an awful lot. And you have a lot of downtime, and rather than use that, most people use it for, but once you have a little kid who's dependent on you, you become a father. I became a father. There's no playing around, and everything I do is like, I'm even making just about the same money, and it's going a lot further. I can look in my house and I see it in my kids, I see it in my home. It's made real. It is. It's the most significant thing I did to make my life more impactful.
Sure.
Which makes me, I'm wondering, are the fathers involved in this process at all?
It depends. It depends. Unfortunately, an enormous percentage of the fathers are against the pregnancy at the beginning. And sometimes usually it's because they're worried about how they're going to finance, how they're going to take care of this child financially. Nadunotam lekaf zchut, as we say. We'll try to judge them, not judge them harshly in any way. But so it's less a case. But I have a funny story here about that. There was one of our volunteers was sitting in a living room of a couple. She was pregnant, and he was sitting on her to have an abortion. And no, we can't have another, and absolutely not, and no, and no, and no, and no. And our volunteer, who was a neighbor of theirs, was sitting with them and talking with them and explaining, and on and on and on and on. In the end, the woman just put her foot down and she said, "I'm not going to have an abortion. No way. Forget it. I'm having this baby, and that's all. You can do whatever you want." And half a year goes by, maybe a year, and our volunteer was walking on the street in the little town where she lives, and she sees the guy across the street. She crosses the street to see him pushing the baby in the carriage. And she says, "And what do you say now? Can I have him? You don't want him, right?" No, please don't remind me. Please don't remind me.
I should have known this was one of the interviews where I would need tissues. Because whenever I try to write an article about the biblical perspectives on abortion, there really aren't any, because abortion was unthinkable, because the most precious thing in your life was your children. Having an abortion is burning your money. It's burning them. It's like burning your house down. Why would you do such a thing? Even men.
People come to situations where I really the women, I'll tell you what, I'll quote another one of our volunteers. She says, I so admire the women that I take care of as a volunteer in EFRAT. You have no idea how brave these women are. They're amazing, amazing. They're in life situations that, God forbid, really, nobody should have to go through that. Nobody should have to be in such a position of having to decide whether or not to have an abortion. Terrible, terrible, terrible. And those women who do decide to continue their pregnancy and have their baby, it comes from a courage of spirit that is, and a belief in the future, and a belief in kindness, and that help is on its way, that are really, they are to be admired. They're just really, really to be admired.
I think Israel, that's absolutely for sure. And I also think that part of the problem is whenever I hear about legislation for abortion, they're always talking about the women. But I think that we have to, I mean, of course, the emphasis and the focus should be on the mother. But I think we should also reestablish the concept of manhood, of being a father, and the significance of that. Men lose an awful lot by not stepping up and being a man, being a father.
Absolutely. I'm sure that that's true. We don't deal with that. We actually have two male all of our volunteers, 99.999% are women. We have two male volunteers, and their job, they never speak to the women because they just don't. But their job is, when the woman feels that a conversation with her husband or boyfriend would be helpful, then those two guys come in and they'll have a man-to-man talk with the husband or the boyfriend, and it's very, very helpful and meaningful. I know.
Yeah, I think it's if someone comes up to a young man who's feeling overwhelmed, and he says to him, "Look, you're a heck of a guy. You're a lot bigger than you think you are.
Yeah.
You can be a father. Go for it." It's like, wow. I think that would be a huge step. I'm also wondering, one of the experiences I had when I moved to Israel is there's a much stronger sense of community and of family. Families are, the extended families. Since it's a small country, you spend one Shabbat or one holiday with the in-laws on this side, and one Shabbat and one holiday on the in-laws with that, and they're always available for babysitting and stuff like that. So how does family and community come into the picture? Or does it?
Interesting question. No, look, every person, we have 83,000 women, over 83,000 women. We have over 83,000 stories. We have the stories of women who are in contact with their families. We have stories of women who don't have a family, or who were orphaned at a young age, or whatever. There's so many stories. There are a lot of the times we have mothers that turn to us and say, "My daughter got pregnant. She's thinking about abortion. Please talk to her. It's a shame. She'll be sorry that she did it." And that happens a lot. And community, I mean, it's known that in Israel, it's even the coolest young people are really happy to come to their family for Friday night dinner. It's like, it's not uncool in any way.
The religious community,
I'm sure it makes a difference.
The religious communities, for sure. We have what's called Shifra and Pua, which is after the mother gives birth, even, married husband, kids, they arrange meals, definitely for Shabbos and usually also for the week.
Many communities, if not all religious communities in Israel have those kind of services. And also in my synagogue, we have the same service for, it's a beautiful service, and it's a beautiful feeling of being a part. And yeah, I exactly this morning have a case of a young woman who made Aliyah from a country in Europe. I mean, it just started, so I can't give a lot of information. Also, I haven't met her yet, but a friend of hers came in to tell us about her, that she found herself pregnant and she has some difficulties. And one of her difficulties is that she's very lonely and alone, and that she has the need for community. And for sure, it takes a village to raise a child, and and Israel is in a lot of ways, in many, many communities, really that kind of village. Thank God.
Ruth, I could talk to you all day. Hopefully one day I'll make it down to Jerusalem, and
absolutely, you have to come. And I really do want to extend an invitation to the visitor center in the EFRAT organization in Jerusalem. Please come see with your eyes where your donations are going. You're more than welcome anytime.
I was there once a bunch of years ago, and with Dr. Shosheim. And I mean, first of all, it's all volunteer. It is not a big corporation, Silicon Valley kind of. It is like, okay, we have boxes. Let's get the boxes out to the people. What I'd like to emphasize for the people who hear this is, first of all, yes, connect with the EFRAT. They're an amazing organization, literally saving babies. In addition, take this as an example of what you can do in your own community, just reaching out to providing meals for a young family, for a young woman, I mean, even if there's a father, he's probably feeling overwhelmed. It doesn't take much. I remember, like I said, in the communities, you never get rid of your baby stuff after the kids are grown. And after the second kid, I wasn't buying too many new things. It was all, from the neighbors. Someone gave birth, and I remember we showed, oh my gosh, yes. Oh, now I remember. We showed up after we gave birth to our first kid. We went back home, and literally sitting out in front of our door were bags of baby clothes and toys, and it was wonderful. It was wonderful. And just knowing that you're not alone is already part of the solution. And if you do that, you'd be surprised. You won't have to go scream at politicians who don't care anyway.
A lot of the women of EFRAT women, that's the word that's the sentence that they say, that once we contacted EFRAT, we felt that we weren't alone anymore.
Amen.
Hear a lot.
Okay, Ruth, I can't thank you enough. And hopefully our people will be in touch, and I'll be in touch. Thank you so much.
Great.